I have to see something to believe it, or I have to feel it to believe it. So I won't know unless I'm dead. And if my soul is around and it's floating somewhere, and I know it for a fact, then I believe it.
If by God you mean all of nature, sure. If by God you mean that little spark of goodness in us all, I believe in that too. But if by God you mean all-powerful, all-knowing, then we're in trouble with the problem of evil.
Lonely summer nights, ice-cold winter days, foggy Monday mornings and Tuesdays filled with haze. Have no time for living, just have time to think. Black and purple, orange and blue, gold, yellow, red and pink. Girls in long white dresses, some with eyes of blue. If you think back on your life, what's the very first thing you remember? Most people have a memory of when they were 3. Nobody remembers being born, which in a way is a shame. Such a momentous event.
Good morning, sir.
Hi.
Hi, my name's Sherry. I'm going to be your server.
Hi, how are you? Good.
This is today's menu.
Good.
Can I get you a beverage to start?
Cup of coffee.
Cup of coffee? How do you take your coffee?
Milk and sugar.
I'll bring it right
Thanks.
over.
Oh, what to do, where to go, how to be. Can I cry or should I laugh, and will I ever see? Streaming.
Actually, the more you think about it, it's much better that we don't remember being born. And not very pleasant. At age 3, the world is an exciting place. Everything is new. Everything is interesting. And even though your mom and dad bought you all these fancy toys, you still find that rocks and sticks are toys too. But as the years go on, life becomes more complicated. You one day realize that no one had the courtesy of asking you whether you even wanted to be born. No choice of your mother or father, no choice of the first language you learned, no clear answer to what happens when your life is over. It's a little strange when you stop to think about it. I spend many hours of my life looking under the microscope. It opens up worlds that I otherwise couldn't see or explore. As a doctor, I study the brain and try to help those with multiple sclerosis and Alzheimer's. I know the mysteries of these diseases will one day be solved. But what about the bigger mysteries? Will they ever be solved? This is the menu?
This is the menu. These are today's specials.
These are the specials?
Yes, they are.
All right, give me a few minutes. I'm going to...
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. My parents owned a deli in Denver, Colorado. I have fond memories of eating there and looking at our family's pictures on the wall. They were avid skiers and loved to play golf. My father passed away when he was 77, and my mother died 10 years later when she was 84. When I lost my mother, I began to think more and more about life and its mysteries. What kind of bagels do you have?
We have cinnamon, raisin, onion, and with everything.
My father liked to tell jokes, especially about marriage. One of his favorite jokes was about a couple married for 65 years who were asked the secret of their marriage. "It's simple," the wife said. "I worried about the small things in life, where we lived, how we spent our money, how we raised our children. My husband worried about the big things. Is there a God? Why is there evil? Where did we come from?" I'm like my father. Why not go for the big questions? What if I wanted to have the bagel with the omelet? Can I do that?
Sure.
Because of that, I like to read physics. And another of my father's favorite jokes blended physics with marriage. A classic question in physics goes like this. If a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to hear it, does it make a sound? My father's question was as follows. If a man says something and his wife doesn't hear it, is he still wrong?
Any other questions?
Yeah, I got a question. What happens when you die?
I go to heaven.
You just die. That's it. There ain't no coming back. You don't come back and be anything. You're dead. No matter if you get cremated or you go in the dirt, you're dead.
Life is a gift from God, and it is eternal.
Since God is an eternal being, we are eternal beings, so I don't believe in death, no.
I believe there will be a spirit of me somewhere.
My orientation in daily life is thinking of myself as cosmic dust. And as cosmic dust, absolutely nothing happens to me when I die.
I think the lights go off.
There is something like afterlife.
I think that one's body disintegrates after one dies.
I think that you lose consciousness and your body goes into the ground or into a furnace and you get burned up and your body is destroyed.
I think when we die, we born again in some other form. Like if we are human in this birth, we'll be like birds in next birth, and we'll be going through that cycle.
I just took in about 1,000 molecules of Jerry Garcia's body because he was cremated and it went into the atmosphere. So the molecules survive, but not your consciousness, no.
The real living starts only when somebody dies. The question is not if there is life after death. There's a great question if there is life before death.
Life's big questions are always there, just under the surface. Whether you're in a restaurant, at the dentist.
How you doing there, Dr. Weiner? You doing okay?
Yeah, okay.
Or playing golf. You can try to ignore them. You can say that they're unanswerable, but in the end, we all must confront them.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
Yeah, I have a question. What's the purpose of life?
Burning sun of August, rainy April day, streaming leaves of early fall and dewy lawns of May. Everything is changing, but in circles round and round, back and forth and south and north, the sky and then the ground.
Some people claim to know what happens when they die, and it's not that bad.
About 25 years ago, I was in Hong Kong having dinner. I felt uneasy and like I couldn't breathe. So I went to the ladies' room. I thought at that moment I was blacking out.
I had, when I was on my 18th, a clinical death. My last thought on earth was they will not have time to call a doctor. And then nothing. I didn't hear nothing.
All of a sudden, this huge, tremendous, bright, white light appeared before me. And I felt an immediate relaxation.
A huge immensity, mass of white. Like if you can imagine the Hiroshima power, but instead of being destructive, it's just light and love.
I think that this is what everyone's going to experience when they die. A light is going to appear. Maybe it is a loss of oxygen. Maybe it isn't spiritual. I think it's spiritual because I'm kind of a spiritual person.
I'm going outside my body, and then I feel that I'm dying because I'm seeing myself outside of my body. So in my dream, I just get back into my body because I said, no, I will not die now.
Did you ever have a dream where you felt that you were outside your body and you couldn't get back in?
No. I think the day it happens, I will be dead.
In Rio de Janeiro, I spoke to Cristina, an actress raised in the Portuguese Afro religion.
When we start the process of death, your angel God, your Orisha, goes slowly away and away and away. And then you are ready to go with him. He is waiting for you at the other side. You don't feel nothing great, nothing terrible. No, it's a big nothing, a big silence.
Peace?
Peace, yes.
Mazen and his wife Mafa live in Jerusalem. Mazen was born in Baghdad and Mafa was born on the Gaza Strip. They have 5 children.
There is a second life after the death. We have the judgment day, we have the heaven and the hell.
We are trying to
to live in a way that makes us go or reach heaven.
Ideally, my soul will go to heaven, and then you'll be reunited with everyone that was in your life that you lost, and then you can kind of see over the people who are still living and help them out, maybe as an angel for them.
In Abu Ghosh, outside of Jerusalem, I spoke to a French monk who left 10 brothers and sisters in France to join a monastery, and to Ezejab, who was born in Abu Ghosh and is a director on the city council.
I believe that after this I meet with God. I meet with Him and there is a judgment. So it's two things I believe, meeting with God and resurrection from the dead.
All the people, according to Islam, will get alive as adults, as very young, but they will be able, of course, to get married with very lovely women, for example, from the next world. They will enjoy the wonderful food, fruits, and those who did evils and they are bad people will go to hell. And of course in hell there are very difficult situations where people will not enjoy good food.
Susanna Drakova is from Prague and is finishing her PhD in social anthropology on the topic of women and war. She was born under communism and speaks 5 languages.
I think that the, let's say, spiritual energy that is running our bodies during life doesn't just evaporate, it continues its existence.
Are you reunited with your loved ones after you die?
I think so, yeah, definitely.
So you'll see your mother?
Yes.
Now when you see your mother, she also has a mother, right?
Right.
So when you see her, is she there as your mother, or is she there as the child of her mother?
She's there as my mother.
Aaron Appelfeld is a world-renowned writer who survived the concentration camps as a boy and then settled in Israel, where he has lived for the past 50 years. He has written over 30 books on the Holocaust.
I don't think about life after life. And I'm just preoccupied with doing all kinds of things here. Death is an illusion.
Maybe death is an illusion, because all we've experienced is life. But for many of us, we are worried about what happens after we die, especially how we are remembered. We know that our bodies disintegrate after we die. We've all seen skeletons. So if something is to survive, it must be our souls.
It's me. It's my strength. It's my thoughts. It's my everything. It's not my body.
It's how you act. It's how you behave. Your ability to learn things is all about. It's all within you, I think.
Walter Sinnard Armstrong is professor of philosophy at Dartmouth College. He has published widely on ethics, morality, logic, the philosophy of law, and on the existence of God.
Some people think of the soul as a separate mental, non-physical substance that exists independently of the body. But then a lot of people that talk about soul will go, no, that's not what I mean. And so then what do you do?
The soul is spiritual, and the body is physical. So the question is, how does something that's spiritual communicate with something that's physical?
I'm not sure if there is a definite pathway for that to happen. I think it happens.
Maybe your soul just kind of drives your physical actions without you knowing it, but they definitely interact.
In the old city of Jerusalem, I visited with the patriarch of the Greek Orthodox Church, where I was shown the place where Christ rose to heaven.
The soul is the very image of God within the human body.
I think that when your soul isn't doing too well, it lets the effect show also on the physical side.
Rabbi Mordechai Neugerschel is head of the Center for Modern Jewish Studies and Philosophy and lives in Jerusalem.
Because the real self which lies inside my body is the infinite dimension which is the soul.
So here you have a sperm and you have an egg, and they come together and cells start dividing. Does the soul come in here? Is there a half a soul here and a half a soul here? And then this divides more, and the baby is born. Does the soul come in here?
The first connection between soul and body is done even before the egg is fertilized. There is an expression that a candle is lit above his head. You cannot see this candle in an ultrasound. No candles are inside. But the soul is compared to a candle in a verse which says, Ner Hashem Nishmat Adam. The soul of a human being is the candle of God.
Donna Scahill is a patient of mine with multiple sclerosis that I have treated for over 15 years. Donna and her husband Ed have 4 children and 10 grandchildren.
Each person, as they're born, is infused with the soul, and that's much of what makes the difference between animals and humans.
John Bluffington is from South Africa and sells jewelry. He travels the world and hasn't seen winter for over a decade.
The soul, I feel, is the expression of the spirit through the body, while the spirit is in a place of non-expression but of eternal existence.
When you are on the sea and you see the wind on the boat, the wind in the wing is making a movement.
Yes.
There is something like this in my body. My body could be the wing,
right,
and my soul could be the wind.
Alan Guth is a Weizkopf professor of physics at MIT. He discovered a period of rapid expansion that lasted a billionth, trillionth of a second when the universe began.
We really are collections of atoms and molecules behaving according to the laws of physics.
Right.
But we're very complicated collections of atoms and molecules that can perform all kinds of complicated tasks. Right. And I think in the course of that, one really does develop the necessary complexity to live a life that has real meaning. In that sense, I think we do have a soul.
Adina Roskis teaches philosophy at Dartmouth College. She has degrees in both neuroscience and philosophy, and her dog has become a fixture in the department. What do you think people think of normally when they say souls?
I think souls are some spiritual substance that is the basis for their personal identity, and that exists maybe even before they're born, but certainly after they die, and has some close relationship to God. But I don't think there is such a thing.
Jessica is 26 years old. She was born in East Boston. She has an older sister. She also has a 4-year-old daughter. The father of her daughter was killed the year before I interviewed her.
I would think your soul was like your heart, right, on your feelings, on how you feel, like your soul and your heart. I basically think it's the same thing. Like when they say when you die your soul rises. No, I don't believe in that. No, it's crazy.
The death in our religion, it's the separation between the soul and the body.
You can't separate man and woman. It's also you can't separate body and soul. They are connected to each other.
Rupali and Deepak are both 29 years old. They're from India. Rupali was born in Punjab and grew up in Delhi. Deepak was born in Hisar, a small town in the northern province of India. They were recently married. It was an arranged marriage, but they were clearly very much in love with each other. So you have a soul.
Yeah.
And the soul's inside you.
Yeah.
And did it exist before you were born, your soul?
Whatever birth I am having, like I am living as an animal or as a human being or as something else later in later in my life, the soul will remain the same. So it's just it's like my body is like clothes. Right. So my soul is just changing the clothes, and I'm going into the one form and then in the other and then in the other.
I don't think there is something called soul. It's you're thinking, it's in your mind that you think there is somebody inside you or some soul kind of thing.
People say your soul goes to heaven and then there'll be pearly gates and golden streets. Well, look, if it's just your soul and not your body, you don't even have any eyes. You don't get to see the pearly gates and the golden streets. I don't know what's going on with that story.
I work, I walk, I speak, I feel my body. Is this my soul? Is this not my soul?
When I think of the soul, I have a question. What about animals? Do animals have souls?
Definitely, yes.
Snakes?
Yes.
Ants?
Definitely. Ants are like one fractured soul into several fragments that are cooperating together to actually create one bigger entity, which is the soul.
I think that everyone has a soul.
Animals?
Animals, germs.
Snakes?
Snakes.
Cockroaches?
No.
No. Cockroaches don't have souls.
Yeah, they do.
Do animals have souls?
Yes, I feel so.
They do.
Yeah.
Dogs?
Dogs, yeah.
Snakes?
Yeah, all animals,
Snakes.
definitely. They're all connected, man.
Animals, they have whatever they have, but there is no way to connect the animal world with the human being, because a human being has been gifted with the logos. Logos means God Himself.
How about rocks?
They have vibration essence.
I do think that humans are so much more advanced than any other species,
Right.
that I think we are in a class by ourselves.
The soul as you describe it, is that the same as consciousness?
I don't think that it is the same, but consciousness comes out of a soul.
The relationship between consciousness and the soul may be complex, but in order to be conscious, it's always better to be awake. And the best way to keep awake is to have a good cup of coffee. Now, the last time I went for a cup of coffee, I noticed this sign.
Dunkin' Donuts, this is Mary. Your call's being recorded.
Yeah, I have a question about your chocolate crullers.
Certainly. What can I help you with?
Yeah, are they non-fat?
No, only on the West Coast.
Could you tell me about your spiced coffees?
We have cinnamon and vanilla. Is there anything else I can help you with?
Yeah, I have one more question. Is there a God? God. Now there's a question for you. It's a question that's impossible to escape. I ask it like this. Do you believe there's a God, a supreme being, or a higher intelligence, something out there? So even if you have trouble believing in God, it's a multiple choice question.
Nothing. I do believe we live in a complicated universe that we don't fully understand, and that there's very intricate properties of the laws of physics that allow the universe to work the way it does, but I would not personify that, that organization.
There definitely is a higher entity, something ultimately beautiful.
I believe that there is only one God who controls everything, who did everything in this world.
If I think, he thinks. If I do, he does. Without his power, nothing could be done.
I don't believe there's a God. I'm atheist. But I think there is a power or a figure. I'm not sure whether I should address the figure as God, but I think there is something out there.
Every one of us has some feelings that he cannot understand, that we call them mysterious feelings.
Do I believe there was a God? Yes. Do I believe he's still around? No.
You feel peace when you think about God. You feel love when you think about God. When you are in pain, you look for God.
If I will practice as a lawyer, I will always try to take the side which have more chance to win the case. And the chance which will win the case here is the side of those who believe in the existence of God.
Pascal was a French philosopher who believed life is a gamble. He is famous for Pascal's wager. He said that although God's existence cannot be proven by reason, a person should wager that God does exist, because with such a wager, one has everything to gain and nothing to lose.
But this is a belief, and you have to have it with you from childhood.
Well, I think it's hard to believe in God because it's seeing is believing, but you just have to believe what people believe and what you've been taught, so it's just faith.
He's a human being, or he could be an alien. There might be a vehicle called God, a tornado called God. He could be anything.
The nature of Allah is very difficult to know, and it's forbidden for us to ask about this nature. And this is one of the conditions to be a believer.
There's a great God called Olodumare. He's the one who makes the earth and the planets, the sun and things.
The life is so complicated, the whole world is so complicated. You see, the universe, it's so complicated. It can't just form by itself, and it's not going to abolish by itself. So something might be controlling everything.
You know, I used to go in my friend's house and he had a black God with dreads. Oh my God, I would be like, what is that? You know, he's like, that's God. I'm like, not in my book, you know, because I believe he's a he though.
You do?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I don't know, because he's a guy.
So God is not a man or a woman?
No, I don't think so. Only men could invent that, I'm sure.
Is there some supreme power? I know that people believe in it, you know. And when I write about it, for instance, when I'm writing about my grandparents who were believers, both of them, I write about them as believers.
Religion is radically endangered in our time because it cannot catch up. And in not being able to catch up, it runs the risk of trying to create the illusion that we live in the past. And that can only be done with great violence and has to result in the tyranny of terror.
And in the name of God, I think, unfortunately, millions and millions of people have been murdered.
I definitely think religion brings good aspects, as long as it is not abused.
When all these disclosures were made in the church about pedophile priests and the hierarchy who suppressed it and enabled it and perpetuated it, it just made me stop and examine every aspect of my life.
When you think about God, if there is a God, the question that immediately comes to mind is, why do people worship different gods? When I walked into St. Peter's, I was told that to honor God, I should remove anything that was on my head. Later, in Budapest, at the second oldest synagogue in Europe, when I walked inside, I was told that to honor God, I needed to put something on my head.
You have different kinds of names for God. So whatever you have grown up with, some kind of name or whatever was going on through your family, so you just think maybe that is God.
All people are just climbing the same mountain from different angles. So they have different paths to the same top.
Why should the principle that is guiding my life be necessarily similar to the principle that is guiding someone else's life? All these gods are real.
I think everybody or every religion has their own God, and you just keep on, having your people believe in the same thing over and over again.
It's mentioned in Quran that we do have 310 prophets and 320 as a messengers, which is at the end 630 in total.
Well, in a way, I think the fact that there's so many suggests that it's a human need and not necessarily an aspect of reality. I think humans have always felt more comfortable if they felt that there was a fundamental truth that they had access to. Part of, I think, the spirit of science is to do without that, to say that we know what we know, and there are many things we don't know, and to accept that.
In Buddhism, there is no God. The goal is enlightenment and undergoing repeated rebirth until one achieves nirvana. So you think there's only one God?
Yes, one creator.
Yeah.
But we are all also unified with him as he creates us and we create things.
Right.
It's all a dance of creation and music, vibration.
People came up with different stories to fill in the uncertainties in their lives. And it's not as if people are going to all come up with the same story. There are going to be certain similarities because God has to have certain features in order to be a coherent answer to the kinds of questions that people find in their lives. That's one of the central problems in life, is how to deal with uncertainty. And it's what leads many people to religions, because religions give you this great certain answer. Of course, you don't know if it's true, but it makes you feel better.
Why do we have such a problem with God? Will it ever be resolved? Why do some people have such a hard time communicating with God? There are fanatics who believe in God. There are also fanatics who believe in other things, like sports. In New York, it's the Yankees. In Boston, it's the Red Sox. For many fans, sports has religious overtones. In 2007, the Red Sox played the Colorado Rockies in the World Series. I got tickets, and my sister took a day off from cutting corned beef at the deli in Denver and flew to Boston for the first game. Where is God in all of this? When David Ortiz hits a home run, he points to the sky and thanks his mother in heaven. In Denver, the rabbi at our synagogue prayed to God on behalf of the Colorado Rockies. It didn't help. Does God have time for this? What does God do when he receives an equal number of prayers from both teams? If God is a woman, does she pay more attention to women's basketball? Do prayers for a baseball game interfere with prayers for sick children?
Oh, what to do, where to go, how to be. Can I cry or should I laugh, and will I ever see?
How you doing today, Dr. Weiner?
I'm good.
Oh,
You know, I don't like the
good.
dentist.
And open for me, please, and close.
I use the water pick because I hate to floss.
You know, your gums are looking much better.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're lubing me up?
I'm lubing you up. Okay, a little bit of air.
Like the Buddhists think you come back in many different lives until you get to nirvana. So do you think if you flossed a lot, it gets you closer to nirvana?
Yes, from my perspective, of course.
Of course, okay.
All right. And do you have any questions, Dr. Weiner?
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a question. Why is there evil in the world?
Maybe there's evil in the world to kind of point people to suggest that there is a higher being. I mean, if there was a higher being and everything just went everything was fine and nothing ever went wrong, then maybe no one would look to something bigger than themselves. They would just say, oh, everything's great, my life's going well.
I think just because it's life and everything can happen, I don't think it has to do with God. God would not choose that children to die.
Why do babies get sick? They didn't do anything. And why do they die? They didn't do anything. Life happens. Life just happens.
We are here and we're human, and we do things not what God wants us to do, but what we want to do. And so things happen to us.
God is not there necessarily to cancel the evil. Evil is there and it will never disappear. But maybe the good forces are there to help us cope with the evil.
You need to have conflicts, you need to suffer, you need to face problems. This will make you more strong. These are all tests from God.
I don't really know why bad things happen to good people. Maybe it's just wrong time and place.
It's a mystery for me. Why does he want to beat me? Why does he want to kill me? And this I've seen during the Holocaust. See, can I understand? No.
There is no real distinction between one baby who suffers and the millions who suffered during the Holocaust from God's point of view.
I've seen the extreme evil, you see, and it's not an individual evil. It was, it was an army against you, an empire against you.
I can walk out this door right now and I'm a good person, but you never know, like one of the light poles from outside could hit my car and then I'm gone.
Right.
It's life. You have to take it as it goes. You can't, plan on nothing. You can't be like anything. You just have to do it.
So is it just chance?
Yeah, it's just a chance.
Chance.
Life is a chance. You live to die. That's it.
If there's no way to answer these questions about evil and God, let's go to a question that confronts us every day. Look around you. Where did everything come from? The sun, the moon, the ocean, clouds, Mount Fuji, and of course, dirt.
God. He was the creator of the world.
God made them.
God made them.
There was some infinite supreme being before anything else existed, and that's God.
A legend from the Pacific Northwest says that life started when a raven flew to Earth and found an enormous clamshell with 5 men in it. The raven coaxed the men from the shell with the promise of a prosperous life, and man was created. Darwin, of course, had a different view: evolution. But even evolution begs the question of how the universe was created. Let's assume that God did in fact create the universe. Now, if we accept that, the question is, how did he or she do it?
Big Bang.
I believe in the Big Bang.
The Big Bang Theory speaks about beginning. And speaking about beginning is a great and most important step towards religions, towards is written in Genesis. There is a beginning.
There's no question in many people's mind that the Big Bang started everything. But the question that I have, and I just don't know how to deal with it, is what came before the Big Bang?
Maybe there was just nothing there.
We really don't know what happened before that. I'm surprised we know as much as we do about that. It happens billions and billions of years ago, and these people are telling you they know what happened 10 to the negative 24th seconds after that event. That's just amazing. And then somebody comes along and says, well, but what happened before that? The answer is, I don't know. They don't either. And so to make up stories about God to fill in this gap in our understanding seems to me a mistake. You ought to just admit you don't know.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Do you have an idea?
No.
I don't know.
I don't know.
We will never know.
I think it's always worth asking the question. It's not clear it's one of those questions that we'll ever be able to answer.
Actually, physics and cosmology are beginning to address the question of what came before the Big Bang.
The initial state was something that might be described as absolute nothingness.
Right.
a system that doesn't even have any space-time points. And if one tries to ask how long did that exist, most likely the answer is that the question doesn't really make sense. That when one doesn't have a universe, one doesn't have time either.
Even with these answers from physics and cosmology, our brains keep asking, well, what came before those events? And one of the major arguments for the existence of God is that he or she is a prime mover that started everything.
Even in the biggest nothingness, you still have something. And from that little something, from that little seed, the Big Bang came. And that little seed might have been the God, you know.
Now that we've established that God may have started everything, we can of course ask, well, what came before God? But maybe we can't ask that question. Maybe we're constructed in a way that we just fall into a trap.
Everything which we will say, it is a production of our brain. So even if we will speak about something which is above brain, this very term will be a production of our brain. So we are in a trap.
Even professional cosmologists are always asking what happened before whatever we describe and try to push the story back further and further. The further back we push things, obviously the less certain things are.
It's not clear to me whether it's just a psychological fact that we have trouble imagining effects without prior causes, whether physically there's a problem with that, but it does seem like we always want to ask the question of what came before the Big Bang.
You see, I don't ask myself questions that I cannot answer them. How are these galaxies, and so what are we here, you see, and so on. What are we here? Just a small nothing.
What came first, the chicken or the egg? Like we're never gonna know, Dr. Weiner, ever. You know, we're gonna die and still not know where we came from. People have been born from, they say, cavemen, Egyptians.
Right.
And then it's ongoing.
In Rome, not far from St. Peter's, is the Trevi Fountain, where people throw in a coin and make a wish. Almost everyone who goes there makes a wish. What are they wishing for? For good luck? For fate to be kind to them? For their dreams to come true? If you threw a coin and wished for your dreams to come true, would it help? How many coins would you have to throw? What if everyone at the Trevi Fountain threw in a coin and made the same wish for you? Would it come true? Would it ever be possible for everyone at the Trevi Fountain to wish for the sun to stop and have it happen? That's silly, of course. We expect the physical world to work in predictable ways. But what about our lives? How much is one's life on a predictable path like the sun?
This is your life. You're gonna live your life, it's chosen for you, and this is what the obstacles that we take is already planned for us.
So if your life is already determined or predetermined, does that mean even like you sit down and they say, do you want to have a soup or salad, that's already determined?
Yeah, I just think it's like we're programmed or something, or things were meant to happen.
I think certain things are meant to be.
It's on us how we decide in things, so we can influence our life.
I chose to be a dietitian. I chose to be living in Belo Horizonte. I chose to leave my home. I chose to travel. I chose everything.
We are always choosing. Go to the left, go to the right. There's no one who doesn't believe they can freely make these simple, everyday choices. People may think that they make their own decisions, but they're always wishing for fate to be kind to them. On the Charles Bridge in Prague, there's a statue of a saint, and if you make a wish, rub the statue, your wish is supposed to come true, as long as you don't tell anyone. Does that mean that the saint can control or know the future? What about God? Many people believe that God knows the future. But if God knows what we will do in the future, How can we have free choice?
I think our whole lives are pretty much predetermined in the sense that our life is known by a higher being, like what's going to happen to us. But I mean, in our sense, it doesn't really matter because every action that you make is pretty much the first time you're doing it. Everything I'm doing today and tomorrow, it's my choice. That's what I'm making up. But God can tell you what I'm going to be doing in 30 years on Tuesday.
But God knows what you're going to do.
Yeah.
But you're still free.
Yeah, this is a mystery.
If there's something out there that already knows what I'm going to do ahead of time, then I can't be free. And then the other worry is if what I do, I only do because that's what natural law basically dictates that I will do, then I'm not free.
I put my hand out here, right? And I decided to lift it. I'm going to decide to lift my hand. I just lifted my hand. Now, that was my choice. Now, what happened when I wanted to lift my hand? Well, I can tell you. It started in my brain. So here's my brain. And there's a certain area in my brain where I triggered some neurons. I can tell you it's Brodmann's area 4. And these nerve fibers fired, went down the spinal cord, and then nerves came out of the spinal cord, went to a muscle, triggered this muscle, and I moved my hand. What triggered these fibers, these nerve fibers? So I had a thought, so there had to be another nerve fiber that triggered these fibers that made me move my hand. So it just keeps going back and back and back until I was born, and maybe everything started when I was born and all of these fibers started triggering, and I don't really have a choice of what I'm going to do.
I think our actions are indeed caused, very often caused by forces outside our control, such as when we were born and the configuration of atoms in our bodies and so on. In that sense of freedom, I don't think there is freedom.
Everyone would love to be able to predict the future. Psychics claim to see the future. Many people try to predict horse races in the stock market. In Tokyo, at the Shinto shrine, people try to get incense that's holy to penetrate into their brain and make them smarter. At that shrine, I paid 200 yen to get my fortune told. The custom is that if you get a bad fortune, you leave it at the shrine so it won't follow you. The central question of free will is whether if we knew everything in the universe, all the variables, all the pieces, could we predict the future?
Well, I couldn't because I'm not smart enough. But a supercomputer that had all the locations, velocities, and masses of all the atoms in the universe and knew the laws of nature, to the most precise point, probably could predict most macroscopic events, although there would still be indeterminacy if quantum mechanics is right.
That supercomputer could predict whether you're going to have cherry pie or apple pie, whether you would choose that.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you don't need a supercomputer to predict that. I mean, I know that if I give my son choice of cherry or apple, he's going to get apple. He hates cherry.
Einstein believed that we do live in a deterministic world, but he also realized the problem created by determinism. If we live in such a world, how can we be morally responsible for what we do?
I don't accept predestiny because it takes from you responsibility as a human being.
But I truly feel that I'm making choices. How do we explain that? There are experiments on the brains of people who decide to do something, and after they make the decision, there's a trigger in the brain that makes them believe that they've made a free choice. Of all the questions in life and philosophy, free will and destiny are the toughest. How can we be truly independent of all that's gone before? Maybe our free choice is only an illusion. But maybe that illusion is all we need.
I think it is an illusion. Nonetheless, whether or not we are free, I think we have to live as if we're free.
The stars and galaxies hurtle through the universe according to the laws of physics. What about our brains? What about morality, right and wrong, making moral choices? Is there a difference in our brains between logic and emotion? And how much control do we really have over our decisions related to these moral questions? Here's a philosophical question that addresses this. Okay, what I'd like you to do is imagine there's a runaway trolley that is out of control and is about to hit 5 people and kill them. Now you see this, and there's a switch that you're able to pull. And if you pull that switch, the trolley goes onto a sidetrack, and on the sidetrack, there's only one person. So instead of killing 5 people, the trolley kills 1 person. So the question is, would you pull the switch?
Yes.
I'd pull the switch.
I guess you have to pull the switch.
If you have to make a choice, you'd rather see 1 person die than 5.
I will not pull the switch. If you don't do anything, you are not the killer. If you do something, you are the killer. The fact that 5 people will die instead of 1, you are not to blame.
As it turns out, the overwhelming majority of people would pull the switch. It makes logical sense. But how about a second scenario? Now, instead of a switch, in this scenario, there's a bridge, and there's a person standing on the bridge. It's a stranger, you don't know them. So in order to stop the trolley, you have to push the person off the bridge in front of the train. Would you push the person off the bridge?
Emotionally, I don't know if I'd be able to.
I'd want to push him off the bridge, but I probably wouldn't be able to.
I'd have a hard time pushing the man in front of the train.
Couldn't do it.
It would be too close. You know, that would feel like I was actually taking his life.
I feel more connected to actually the murder of someone or the sacrifice of someone by actually physically pushing them off.
If you actually have to touch a person, it's too much contact, it's too intimate.
So even though I was sacrificing the 1 to save the 5, the act of pulling the lever, I could see myself doing, as opposed to actually pushing a human being off the bridge.
Most people don't want to contact the victim. They have a strong aversive reaction to thinking about laying their hands on the back of the person that they are about to kill.
I mean, it's way different talking about it philosophically, but if you were actually on that bridge, you really don't know what you'd do unless you were there.
These different responses relate to our emotions and how they affect our thinking. We can now study the brain by asking someone a question and seeing which parts of their brains light up when the person thinks of the answer.
The studies that have been done suggest that the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is much more active in going off to the side, and the orbital frontal areas are much more active in pushing the man in front of the trolley.
When one thinks of pulling the switch, a part of the brain dealing with mental computation lights up. When one thinks of pushing the person, one also lights up parts of the brain dealing with emotion. Does that mean our brains are hardwired in how they deal with certain moral dilemmas?
Oh, I think morality is dependent on all sorts of parts of our brains. I'm not sure what hardwired means. I mean, we have various cognitive faculties and they're used for various things. The parts that you see active during these kind of moral judgments are active during other kinds of things as well.
Do our emotions protect us, or do they get in the way? Certainly, less people would be killed if it wasn't so easy to push a button and drop a bomb. And yet, where are someone's emotions who is willing to blow themselves up in a marketplace? What about people who might have damage to certain parts of the brain? Is it easier for them to kill? One day, will we be able to affect our brain circuits in such a way so that there won't be any more wars? Time is such an integral part of our lives. We measure it, we race against it, we try not to waste it, but we can't save it. We can't put it in the bank, and we have such a limited amount of time on Earth. I sometimes imagine myself on an arrow of time flying through the universe, and I wonder, What would I see if I was sitting on that arrow and it landed on Earth in the future? What's going to happen in 1,000 years from now?
I think we will self-destruct.
In 1,000 years, I don't know if the planet will be here in 1,000 years.
I'm now 75 years. In 10 years, I'll probably be 85 years old. I pray to have my eyes, my ears, not more. This is my horizon, you know. What will be in 1,000 years, I never thought about.
The Texans, for definite, would have no legs, and China will rule the world.
What's going to happen in 10,000 years from now?
I guess after like 10,000 years, we may be something else, not the human being, some other kind of creature.
Much advanced.
Honestly, I would be surprised if there's anything alive on it, but I hope I'm wrong.
Because the limits of our life, it's too small, so I can't imagine it after 10,000, it's too long, too much.
In 10,000 from now, according to my best knowledge, the whole situation will be totally different, more spiritual, less physical. And the physical dimension is going to get absorbed into the spiritual one.
What will things be like in 10 million years?
I imagine people may be flying, just with their wings.
Is God coming back? In other words, like in a million, he's gone.
Maybe it's not God, our God, like we know. It
Right.
could be like another one.
Different one.
Yeah, a different one. A different savior. You know what I mean? Maybe somebody new.
So in 3.5 billion years, the sun burns out. So there's no question that we have to get off Earth before the sun burns out.
It is, I think, conceivable that in that time scale, the human race could perhaps very easily even develop the technology to leave the solar system and either support themselves in empty space or find another solar system.
I don't think we need to worry about that.
The future may be too much for us to comprehend, but in our imaginations, we can travel anywhere we want.
I'd like to go forward.
Forward. How far forward? How many years?
Oh, not too many years. I don't want to see too many changes, because this is good life right now.
Backwards.
Backwards. How far back? Where would you go?
Like when my parents were born, like the 50s, the 40s, the, 60s and stuff. When I used to live in East Boston, everybody was Italian and you can go outside and play and everything wasn't so expensive and people appreciated things.
I want to stay still, to be honest. I think there's, I've made mistakes in my life and I have regrets, but I think I've learned a great deal from these things.
How far back would you like to go?
Last week I did something very stupid, so I'd like to go back then and fix it.
To my childhood.
To your childhood?
Yeah.
Why?
Because that was the time when I enjoyed my life a lot.
I would like to go 10,000 years, but I don't want to go old.
I mean, I'd go back and listen to Robert Johnson playing blues music. I'd always wanted to see what that would have been like live, in a bar in Mississippi, long time ago.
One of our biggest fears is dying. But what is the alternative? And is the alternative something that we would be willing to embrace?
I don't know about forever. I think forever may be too long.
There's a sense of urgency about life when you know it's limited. I'm not sure I'd probably sit around eating bonbons if I knew I could live forever.
I've got a lot of things that I'd like to do that, work on my golf swing. I'm assuming I'm healthy, but sure, if I could be healthy, I could think of plenty of things to do for 1,000 years.
So to stay alive forever, there is no need, because the others will die. It means that you are alone again.
Only the fact that death is in the horizon and we are threatened by it gives everything its meaning.
Whether or not death is required for our lives to have meaning, we're all confronted with being born into a life that we didn't choose. And then once here, we're all confronted with this question: what is the purpose of life?
The most important thing is to be a good human being. I would like to contribute to the well-being of other beings, not only human. I would like to try and make this world better.
On an individual level, just to be the best person you can be, because maybe that'll inspire other people to be good people and influence them.
Do everything you can do and be all you can be, and try, and just try to do good, because nothing's going to come out of evil.
To try to throw out of himself any kind of hatred. Blessed are those who are pure in heart, because they will see God.
What's the most important thing for a person to do while they're alive?
To do the very best they can.
I don't know the thing I'm supposed to do.
How do you find it out?
You don't. You live your life, and eventually you'll do what you're supposed to do without knowing it.
I don't think it's a purpose that comes from outside of the human race.
Right.
I think we have to invent our own purpose.
A writer is somewhere whispering a word in hope that his whisper will make something meaningful.
To be part of this godly spiritual stream, this is a goal of life.
I think the most important thing is to help other people. And we all have needs of a variety of sorts, and we're all going to be a lot better off if we help each other. That's the meaning of life.
Just to live and have fun.
I guess it's true. Girls just want to have fun. But what about professors of religion? What do they want?
I'm here for the fun of it.
What are the most important things in life? I guess one way to find out is to Google different words and see which word is the most popular. Let's start with water. 847 million hits. How about sex? 707 million hits. Let's compare sex with love. Love is 2 billion. How about life versus death? Life wins. War versus peace. War wins. Coke versus Pepsi. Very close. Where does God fit in? More than Coke and Pepsi, less than sex and death. I tried many words, and one word was the most popular by far. What was it? Home. Now, even though the word home may be an artifact of the internet, in the end, that's what we all want, to be home. If we want to know how someone is doing in life, we ask them a simple question. Are you happy?
Happiness is Sunday morning with tea and scones and newspaper.
Do you think if you didn't have any food, you'd not be happy?
Yeah.
What kind of food do you like?
Junk food.
Maybe valuing the things that you have and being okay with the things that you don't.
Happiness is a big, fuzzy dog. I don't know. I think it's, finding a few passions and being able to indulge them and feel content.
It comes from you, from inside. If you are satisfied with your life, with your way of living, if everything that you do, you will reach the happiness.
To feel happy is to not have an enemy, not political enemy, no, your enemy yourself.
I guess I would be happy if I had more money.
It's being alive, seeing people, loving people. Love is the most important thing.
love. We may be trapped in a narrow window of time as we are hurled through the universe, but while we're here, most of us are searching for someone to love. We are searching for our soulmate. The big question is, do we have only one soulmate on Earth?
Well, if you find him, can you tell him to call me?
I hope there's more than one.
I think there's a lot. A lot, yeah. So how do you choose the right one, or how do you know?
Whichever's available at the time.
If there is, I mean, hopefully I'll find him one day, but if there isn't, I mean, I'm gonna make it without him.
Do you think you could choose the wrong person?
Yeah, people do.
In India, your family can select your soulmate, and you know what? It often works. Do you think that each person, there's a soulmate, and that each person has one person on Earth that's just the best for them?
It's very tricky. He should answer it carefully.
There may be other people who make you happy, and so it depends upon whether you come across them or not.
Right.
If you come across them one person like she is here, then I feel happy.
So for you, there's one person in the 6 billion for you.
Yeah, for me, I hope there's just one person.
You just got to find him.
Right.
How do you find your soulmate if there are 6 billion people on Earth? The answer is easy. The internet. Step 1, select your gender. Step 2, select your star sign. Step 3, enter your first name. Step 4, enter your cell phone number. I put in my number, and all I got was a call from Misty, who told me she takes credit cards. Have no one that cares for me, I have no one to love. Raven, sparrow, hawk and owl, blue jay and turtle dove. Now we all know we're going to die. Most of us don't know when. But if we did know, it would certainly put our lives and what is important to us into immediate focus.
I don't like this anymore. Be with my family.
I sometimes ask myself that, and I never know what the answer is. Because I think I ought to be doing that, but I still keep doing what I'm doing.
Take my kayak to the ocean and paddle out.
I would like to see the sunshine, like now.
I will try to be good to everybody so that they will remember me for the next few days.
What would you do?
Yeah, I'll pay all my bills so that it doesn't curse me.
If you knew in a month, you have a month.
If I had a whole month, I might try to finish some of the papers I've been writing.
So do the same as I did yesterday.
I would probably go to California to see my grandchildren.
A year, let's say you knew you had just one more year.
I would probably spend some time doing some traveling and being with the people I love.
I would try as much as I could to connect with my family.
A year, you have 365 days.
I would probably travel.
It looks like if you're going to die in a day, you should call your mother. If it's a whole year, call your travel agent.
I'd go probably, volunteer my time in the Himalayas or something and try to make somebody else's life better. So why am I not doing it now? I don't know.
Oh, what to do, where to go, how to be. Can I cry or should I laugh, and will I ever see?
Do you think I'll have a full head of hair in heaven?
It depends how you behave yourself here.
Do you think my hair is too long over here or not?
A little bit, not much.
Do my eyebrows need trimming or not?
Your eyebrow needs trimming a little bit.
How important do you think your hair is, like, for getting girls? So what happens if you cut off all your hair?
Well, I don't know.
It's the old guys that color their hair.
No.
The young guys?
Yes.
How about mohawk haircuts? Do you have any
Yes,
people?
I just did a couple days ago.
You know, my wife says I look better after a haircut. Do you agree with that?
Do you have any other questions?
Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah, I have a question. What is it about life that frightens you the most?
Kidnapping.
thunderstorm with lightning.
Losing my mind.
It is natural to be afraid of all sorts of things.
I've always been frightened of my father. He was a very harsh, strong person.
Dying.
Dying. Why?
Because I don't want to die. It's really not, I don't want to die. How am I going to die? You know, because there's so many things happening, you don't know how you're going to die.
The thing I fear is I'll die before she does, and then what will she do? She always says, yeah, I hope that I die one day before you.
I guess kind of failing myself, like either not finding happiness or not finding something that will make me content with my life.
What frightens me the most would be like buried alive or being conscious but unable to move any part of my body, this locked-in syndrome.
As a woman, we lose our status as just a human being.
Wars, violence, terrorism.
To sin against my God.
My biggest fear is humanity not coming home in their consciousness.
The last minutes in the human life, this is frightening me. It's mentioned in the Quran that, you know, it is very, very difficult to separate the soul from the body. And it depends about your record. Was you good? Was you bad?
Betrayal, evil.
Personally, I had a really horrible, tragic thing happen to me. So to me, it's already happened. My child died, so I really can't think of what, as a parent, I mean, if you ask people in general what would be the worst thing that could ever happen to you, they would say the death of my child. So I've already had that happen, so I'm not sure what else could be any worse than that.
What frightens you the most? What are you the most afraid of?
My first thought would be castration. But then I think what I'm frightened the most is the feeling of being mortal. Yeah, and it's not that I'm afraid to die. I'm not afraid to die. I'm shivered, and I'm shivering of the idea that it is all meaningless.
So many things in life to be afraid of. So many demons that we can't control or escape. What do? The answer is easy. Put them all aside and party. One of the biggest parties in the world is Carnival in Rio de Janeiro. Carnival means farewell to the flesh, and what a farewell it is. It is a party of the people who put aside all the anxiety and pain of life and let their spirits rise in dance and song. In Samba City, I spoke with Walter Gomez. His family has been part of Carnival since the day he was born. He's 41, a samba composer, and director in a samba school called Salgueiro.
Eu acredito que as pessoas acabam materializando e minimizando muito do seu sofrimento em virtude da fantasia e da alegria que o carnaval traz.
We need Carnival in our lives. We need to dance and to sing. A time to escape, so we will have the energy to confront life when we return. Toward the end of my interview, I asked people this. If you met a genie that knew the answer to everything, what would you ask?
I'd like to know if there is a real God and how the world is created.
I'll ask about God.
What happened before the Big Bang?
How do I cure MS?
What is the purpose of life?
Maybe I'd ask them the same questions you're asking me. What is happiness? How is the world formed? Is there a God?
How can we make the world better for everyone?
I would just say why. Why?
why God didn't create us all the same. Yeah, why we are so different.
How could I be able to grasp more and more and even more about the substantial which is God?
I'd like to know what happens once I get past the light.
Why evil things happen to good people?
If you'd like to ask one question about all the things we were talking about, what would you like the answer to?
Why did that guy kill my daughter's father? Why did he let him go so young? I loved him forever. And that's the thing that kills me the most. That's why I'm so sensitive. It's because I want to know why. If that genie can give me that one answer, what happened that night? Why did he pull the trigger? And why did he kill him?
So this is a great picture.
Yeah, with the musical content and also the very strong, happy colors.
Look at how big the legs are. What do you think the artist is trying to do by making the legs so big? I mean, it's out of proportion. The legs aren't really that big.
Yeah, but it makes everything very round and very easy looking. Okay, do you have any other questions?
Other questions? Yeah, I have a question for you. If you could give a message to everybody on Earth, what would you tell them?
Don't ask too much. Life is for living, it's not for asking.
To treat others as you'd like to be treated. Not take tomorrow for granted. Don't leave for tomorrow what you can do today. So basically all the cliches of life.
Sometimes the cliches of life can be contradictory, like look before you leap, and he who hesitates is lost.
Think about whether short-term gains are worth the long-term costs. Too many people live for expediency. It's getting to be a big problem for everybody.
You ought to be trying to help other people, even people you don't know, because when you do, they will be helped, and you also will be helped.
To go to the core of yourself, to shake your hand with yourself, and to say, hey, hi, how are you? Oh, you know what? I love you.
Life is very short. So let us live this short time peacefully with each other.
I will say to every people, God loves you, and you are like a treasure. A treasure?
Treasure.
Before God.
Life is a dance, and it's a dance between the creator and his creation. So it's a love making, it's a dance. So don't be heavy, have hope, and shine.
If these 6 billion people decide to live in peace, believe me, if we stay alive another 1 day or 100 years or 1 million years, we will reach the happiness.
Since the source of everything is the admission about the existence of Creator who provides everything, I would tell them, please seek the Creator.
Don't be afraid of death.
My message would be, don't be so egoistic.
I do not have a message for so many people. I have a small message for myself. I am trying to see myself in a context, yes, in a context that teaches me permanently about life, about behavior, about good, about evil.
To accept and be ready to admit and declare that we share common humanity.
Close your eyes and point your finger on the map, just let it linger. Anywhere you point your finger to, there's someone with the same type blood as you. England, China, or Alaska, Mexico or Madagascar, Indonesia, Russia, or Peru, there's someone with the same type blood as you.
Stop fighting each other. Let's have better life. Let's live together.
Banker, lawyer, politician, airline pilot, obstetrician, lion tamer at the local zoo. There's someone with the same type blood as you.
Start loving each other and cut the bullshit.
It may be A or AB, it may be B or O. Whatever type it may be, there's something you should know. Nature has no favorite nation, color, creed, or occupation. Makes no difference what you are or do. There's someone with the same type blood as you.
Now put your hand down.
When I finished my interviews, I gave everyone a chance to ask me a question.
Why are you doing this?
I majored in philosophy at Dartmouth College. Actually, this is the book I used to study philosophy almost 50 years ago. After college, I went to medical school, became interested in medical research in the brain. I was also interested in film, and in medical school, I made a music video of a Beatles song. And so I asked this question: could I make a film that explored life's big questions and truly addressed them?
Do you believe that there's a God?
I'd like to believe there's a God, something out there. I just don't know what it is. God only knows. Nature, art, science, connecting with people. For now, these are my gods.
So what would you do if you had a day or a month left?
One thing I do is give away my money. When you die, your money is worthless.
I'm a college student.
All right, there you go. There's one, and because you're a college student, you get two. So there you go.
Thanks.
Want another one?
Maybe
What?
there's another person that might need it more.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. I'm giving away money. Do you want some?
Have you money?
Yeah, do you want some?
There was no such thing as a free lunch.
All right. I'd go up to people, give them money, and tell them to treasure their lives and make the world a better place. Keep it and give it to charity.
Okay.
There you go. Or keep in mind, when you die, before you die, give away all your money.
Pass this dollar on.
Yeah.
What do you think about 10,000 years ahead?
I'll tell you, I'm not pessimistic about the future. I think we will survive and continue to evolve. I guess the big question I have is, in the future, will we modify our bodies, modify our brains?
What would you ask the genie?
I'd like to know whether there is free will. Or are we trapped in our minds, believing we make choices, when all we're doing is observing the inevitable?
So what do you think the meaning of life is?
For each of us, it's to achieve and experience that which we're capable of. And as Shakespeare wrote, to thine own self be true. We must all come to terms with being alive, even though we didn't choose it. Try to understand life. What do you believe in? Do those beliefs bring you comfort? And do you abide by those beliefs?
Did you learn something that you value from interviewing so many people about their thoughts?
One of the things I realized is that people really enjoy confronting life's big questions. And I developed a bond with almost everybody that I interviewed. I came to realize how important a belief system is, no matter who you are and what you believe. Did the film change me? I can't say that it changed me dramatically, but I feel a certain peace of mind having done it, having gone back to the questions that I was asking as a college student. One thing, I'm grateful that in my life now, I'm trying to solve medical scientific questions rather than these big philosophical questions that I've addressed in my movie. Ever since I was a boy, I've liked to confront life's questions. I always feel better. I feel more alive. It helps put my life in perspective and focus on what's important in life. It's a given that life is not perfect, and one of the major challenges for every person is to live one's life well, given the imperfections they must face. I have now come to my final question. It has to do with loneliness, cosmic loneliness. Are we alone in the universe? I asked the question like this. If you went through the whole universe, do you think you'd find somebody else somewhere like playing basketball somewhere?
It could be. It's highly possible.
Yeah, they may have a gigantic course, and they're all 20 foot tall.
Oh yes, yes.
I also believe there's someone out there playing basketball. But remember, we only have 3.5 billion years before the sun burns out. I suggest we leave Earth after 3 billion years just to be on the safe side. Remember, there can be long security lines at the airport. And when I meet our cosmic neighbors, I'm going to interview them and ask them these same questions. Is there a God? What happened before the Big Bang? I'll tell them what I've learned, that the unexamined life is not worth living. And if I'm lucky, in their game, the ball's not supposed to go through the hoop. Lonely summer nights, ice cold winter days, foggy Monday mornings and Tuesdays filled with haze. Have no time for living, just have time to think. Black and purple, orange and blue, gold, yellow, red and pink. Girls in long white dresses, some with eyes of blue. Long blonde hair and French perfume, I'm fine and how are you? Have no one that cares for me, I have no one to love. Raven, sparrow, hawk and owl, blue jay and turtle dove. Oh, what to do, where to go, how to be. Can I cry or should I laugh, and will I ever see